Thank you so much for that introduction. And thank you to Roger for that shopping list earlier. I know what I'm getting from the supermarket on the way home. And I've got to say, from the consumer's point of view, the big issue that they're facing, and it was picked up by Roger there in terms of that anti-obesity effect of food products, and where we're gone, because people are used to the cancer message, people are used to the heart disease message, but I'll tell you what, more and more people, including myself, tend to find our metabolism slows down as we get older, and we may have trouble doing our belt up from time to time. So I've got to ask you guys straight away, on a show of hands, who would like to get their belt in a notch or two, or finds it a challenge at times to keep their waistline from expanding? Hands up, honestly. There you go. Oh, you're in the right room then. Never before have we been faced with this consequence. And whilst this is not going to be a lecture on my real specialty area, which is sort of obesity, weight management and staying in shape, I think this is where the future presents a lot of opportunities. I've even noticed that people are cutting back on fruit because they're not doing enough exercise. If we all exercised more, we could eat more fruit. So there's a case for putting more nutrients in the same amount of fruit, which is some of the examples that Roger was presenting. So I'm not going to try and cover everything to do with nutrition in this short time. I really want to target on this new information to do with reducing your waistline, and with a dual purpose, as well as motivating you or inspiring you to consider where you could promote products in the fruits and vegetables, nuts and fungi industries, but also to look at how you can make the switch to nutrient-rich as well. Professor Gary Egger was the guy who started Gutbusters in Australia many, many years ago. He's a mentor of mine, and he said recently in the Medical Journal of Australia, obesity and climate change are merely collateral damage for the struggle for modernity. So as we want to own more and more remote controls, then it looks like we just have to put up with expanding waistlines, and this is getting out of control. Anybody in the room metaflame themselves every day? I'm going to tell you to stop metaflaming yourself every day. Inflammation of the joints. When you injure yourself, you certainly feel it. You feel red around the joint and it's sore. Imagine if all the cells in your body got inflamed at that molecular level. That's what's called metaflammation, and we think it's the first sign of cancerous growth. You know, you end up with a tumour, that's rapid growth of cells. That probably starts with a condition called metaflammation. And this is this buzzword now, and you'll hear more and more about it, and this is where nutrient-rich foods can provide the antidote. And straight away in this presentation, I want you to think about, is there a particular food that you're associated with? Is it what you want to promote more consumption of? And how can you really tap into this huge benefit to help people not only stay healthy, reduce heart disease risk, reduce cancer risk, but also reduce their waistlines? Because that is a here and now issue. You eventually might get cancer, you eventually might get heart disease, but metaflammation happens today. How do you get it? Well, you get it from eating a lot of junk food. It looks like a terrible amount of sugar and a terrible amount of saturated fat bombard the body's cells and overwhelm its ability of free radical defence, so antioxidant defence. A lot of the foods that Roger was just talking about, including some absolutely superstar foods in the horticultural industry, and I'll come to using nuts as an example. We saw blueberries early, they're a star as well, and other berries too. And so if we eat too much of this, what happens? This metaflammation starts to damage your metabolism today. I know a lot of young, fit personal trainers that eat junk food. Why? Because they can get away with it, as simple as that. I'm going to say make that switch to nutrient-rich today, and this is a message that consumers are starting to get. Metaflammation is thus to chronic disease what inflammation is to injury and disease at this molecular level. So if you have a few days where you fill up on junk food, you are damaging your cells at the molecular level, you're making them inflamed, you are stuffing your metabolism, and eventually you might find it hard to lose weight. So that's the bit of a nudge or a kick in the pants for you. The issue as well is trying to make every calorie count. And this is an idea to really latch onto as well. As consumers are faced with the problem of expanding waistlines, if they eat empty calories without the nutrition in them, then they just gain weight and they don't get that nutrition benefit. So you want to make every calorie count. So when consumers are going to the supermarket, they're now looking at foods and saying, well, for the same amount of energy, how can I get more nutrition? And that's a concept to really get across to them. There's another new concept here called malnutritive obesity or malnubesity. And that's the term coined to sum up, well, you can get fat, you can put on weight just because you haven't given yourself adequate nutrients. You know, there's diet foods. You can go on a diet food that doesn't have much nutrition, you know, calorie-free diet soft drink. And you might stay in shape, but it doesn't give you any nutrients. So people are starting to now say, well, I could go on a diet food, but you know what, I could have some fruit, or I could have some nuts. I know they've got more calories in them, but you know what, I'm getting a whole stack of nutrition that's actually going to keep my waistline in shape, as well as all those benefits that we know. So we're starting to see some little cracks appear that you can get your little crowbar in for leverage to actually get consumers to want to eat more of these nutrient-rich foods. This is the consequence if you don't eat these nutrient-rich foods. This is the consequence if you do. And consumers are ready to make the switch. There's a number of trends that are indicating this. So we're on this wave where people are ready to hear these positive health messages, the things that Roger was talking about in terms of people are on the lookout for more health benefits. They're feeling their age. They're saying, look, I really can't eat this rubbish anymore. They're ready to make this switch and this nutrient-rich revolution. What are the trends? The ageing population, we know that. We're realising we're not immortal. And suddenly we look at foods differently and we go, wow, that's just not nutritious enough. I want something else. Cooking shows have really brought us into the kitchen, showing us what real food looks like. And there's all these terms that they use in cooking shows for the different toppings and the sauces and that, a lot of them French, and I'll forget them, that people are routinely using in their kitchen. And they wouldn't have a clue how to cook them or if they've turned out right, but that's the authentic actual cooking coming through. Kids are coming through as well. So if you have food products, people want to get hold of these. There's organic food. Organic whole foods in Woolworths now. They almost have half an aisle of this as well. So organic has gone from sort of health food stores and way out there to being mainstream now, of course, and it's all adding to this nutrient-rich revolution. We've also got to the point of diet failures. People have had, since the digital age, they've had Atkins, they've had Zone Diet, they've had all these diets really quickly, and it spreads like wildfire through the internet, so they're over it. And if anybody here has tried a number of diets and they haven't worked, you can try them all really quickly, and then you eventually say, I better start eating real food. And take it from me that within a few years we're going to deal with the whole issue of meal replacements. So processed meal replacement junk food, from my perspective, which isn't nutrient-rich whole foods, a lot of which the stars come out of the horticultural industry, we're going to deal with those consequences, and those people will be looking to eat real foods. If you look at a case study, Weight Watchers just recently, last month, introduced a Points Plus program where their point system, 300 kilojoules or 70 calories equals a Weight Watchers point. They introduced a new system where points are rated for the nutrition, the nutrient density, the fibre content, the glycemic index, more nutrition, and they've just made that change because they know with a Weight Watchers diet, you can balance 18 points perfectly, can't you? You can have 9 points of food and 9 points of alcohol. As simple as that, a perfectly balanced diet. So what we're finding here is even some large multinational weight loss companies are moving towards the nutrient-rich message, and the more they get that message out, the more the foods that we want people to consume will be taken up. And there's also a greater understanding and interest in metabolism. People want to know how their bodies work. And that's coming from some public health campaigns like the Measure Up campaign and some other new things. So these things are driving people to reconsider whether they're going to go for packaged junk food or real nutrient-rich foods. And if you've got a standout product like the ones that we've just seen in Roger's presentation, with a compelling message, they're going to go, great, that meets my needs straight away because I'm ready to listen to that. So they're ready to make that switch.